Medical properties of plants. Aloes. It is cathartic, operating slowly but certainly, and has a particular affinity for the large intestines. It slightly stimulates the stomach and is an excellent remedy in habitual costiveness, attending with torpor of the digestive organs. Administered in minute doses. It is generally given in doses from 5 to 15 grains. The best way, however, of administering it is in pills combined with other articles. Avens, or chocolate root. An eminent physician observes that it is an excellent remedy in all cases of the first stage of consumption and in debility. It is preferable to Peruvian bark in the cure of intermittence, dysentery, chronic diarrhea, wind, colic, affections of the stomach, asthmatic symptoms, and in all cases of debility, whites, flooding, sore throat. It is good for fevers. After the proper evacuations, it may be given till the fever is broken up. The doses are daily, a pint of weak decoction, or about 60 grains of the powder, divided into 3 equal parts and mixed with honey. It is good for the cure of salt rheum and scaled head. Make a strong tea of the root and drink freely, and wash the humor frequently every day. Arrowhead. Made into a strong decoction, it is good as a drink and as a wash in case of being bit by a mad dog. Black snake root. It is an astringent, promotes urinary evacuations and general healthy action, aids menstrual discharges, is efficacious in removing pains, sickness of the stomach, and heartburn in pregnancy. Administer it in tea. Take 2 ounces of the root, add a pint of boiling water, keep it in a warm place, and drink occasionally, 2 or 3 swallows at a time throughout the day. It may be used in connection with slippery elm before childbirth, as it generally assists nature in such cases. It is excellent in bowel complaints, especially in children. Blackberry root. This root mixed with gold thread and boiled down strong is a sure remedy for canker in the mouth, throat, or stomach. Wash the mouth with it and take inwardly a tablespoon daily. It will give great relief in cases of gravel and dysentery if taken often during the day. Black alder bark. A syrup made from it is good for indigestion, and it is good for jaundice. The tags of it are good as a wash for all kinds of spontaneous swellings. The bark powdered is good for worms. Dose, half a teaspoonful in molasses. Bloodroot. It is excellent in coughs and croup. It is an emetic and narcotic. Produces perspiration and menstrual discharges. Is good in influenza, whooping cough, and fistic. It is good in bilious complaints, combined with black cherry tree bark, also in cases of scarlet fever and in catarrh. Butler or oil nut. Extract from the bark makes a mild cathartic, like rhubarb. It is good in costiveness and dysentery. Dose from 15 to 30 grains. Buttercup or crow's foot. It is good for drawing blisters, for corns on the feet, and made into a tea. It is excellent in cases of asthma. Blue flag root. This root has effected wonderful cures in aggravated rheumatic complaints. Give, after eating, a teaspoonful 3 times a day of a decoction of the root made into a tincture. Decrease the quantity if slight pains in the head or breast are produced. It is excellent in removing humor from the system, much more so than the outrageous mercury, and much more safe. For a cathartic, take half a teaspoonful of the powder in molasses. Chamomile. Used as a tea, it is good for relieving the stomach in cases of vomiting, and steeped strong, it stops bleeding in the stomach. Caraway. When steeped in water, is very good for children to remove wind from the bowels. Carrots. Boiled in milk and water and applied as a poultice to old sores, it is excellent. Bathe the sore well with the liquor before applying the poultice. It draws out all inflammation. Checkerberry. It is good for salt rumen simmered with neatsfoot oil and rubbing it on the parts affected. Canada snake root. It is aromatic, stimulant, and tonic. Very good for catarrh and pain in the stomach, coughs, colds, and pulmonary complaints. Red cedar. The oil, combined with oil of spearmint, is good for gravel, disease of the kidneys, scalding of the urine. Combined with sarsaparilla, yellow dock, and burdock, and made into a syrup, adding to a pint of this syrup 1 ounce of gum megaceum is very good in all venereal complaints. Dose from a tablespoon to a wine glass as you can best bear. The berries simmered in neatsfoot oil are good ointment for rheumatism, lame back, and such. Catnip. Steeped and sweetened with loaf sugar, it is good for sore throats. Mixed with fresh butter and sugar, good for fresh wounds, swelled bowels in children by bathing. It is also useful in fevers, producing perspiration without increasing the heat of the body. Comfrey. It is a mucilage, well adapted to allay irritation, good in dysentery, diarrhea, consumptive complaints, and coughs. Currants. A tea made of the leaves of this bush is good in dropsical complaints, and taken as a common drink, it promotes a free passage for the discharge of the urine. It is also good for the stone or gravel. Dandelion. The root and branch of this plant should be steeped in soft water a sufficient length of time to extract all its virtues. Then strain the liquor and simmer until it becomes quite thick. And then, for all bilious complaints, from 1 to 3 glasses a day may be taken with decidedly beneficial effects. It can also be made into pills. It is a good medicine for complaints of the liver, dropsy, and such. Dragon's claw, or fever root. It is useful in fevers as it keeps up a moisture of the skin without producing excitement. To 1 teaspoon of the root, add half a pint of boiling water and drink freely when it is blood warm. Dwarf elderberries. They are excellent in rheumatic and dropsical complaints, also in cases of swollen limbs. The berries must be steeped in spirits and taken in small doses just before eating. Elecampane. It is used in cases of suppression of the menses, diseases of the chest, and general debility arising from weakness in the digestive organs. It is also useful in dropsy. Of the decoction, 1 or 2 fluid ounces may be taken at a time. It is sometimes used in coughs and pulmonary affections. Elderblows, bark, and berries. The flowers are good for the scurvy taken in strong tea. For bowel complaints in children, they are excellent. They are laxative and purify the blood, are also good for the gout, steeped in vinegar and salt. A tablespoon mixed with the vinegar, rubbed on as hot as the patient can bear it. For erysipelas, it is good steeped in vinegar and rum. Also for St. Anthony's fire, add a spoonful of fine salt to a pint of the steep, take a spoonful, and at the same time bathe the parts. Foxglove. It produces a free discharge of urine, is good in dropsy of the chest, reduces inflammation by lessening the action of the heart, reduces frequency of the pulse. It is good in consumptive complaints, especially inflammation of the lungs. It is a poison, and too large a dose will produce spasms, vertigo, and death. A dose of the powder is 1 grain to be taken 2 or 3 times a day and gradually increased until it affects the head, stomach, pulse, or kidneys. It is said to be of use in case of convulsion fits, and made into an ointment it helps scrofula sores. Fir balsam. It is good for sore nipples, flower ulcus, and fresh wounds and weakness of the stomach. Dose 20 or 30 drops taken on loaf sugar, molasses, or anything most convenient. Fever root. It is good in the typhus fever as well as others, keeping the skin moist without producing excitement. To a teaspoonful of the powdered root, add half a pint of boiling water and drink freely. Ginger. It is good in colic, pain in the stomach, dyspepsia. Promotes perspiration, warms the whole system. It is prepared with gentian root, an excellent stomach powder. Dose 1 ounce of gentian root and 1 drachm of ginger mixed together, and take a spoonful in molasses every morning. Golden thread. It is a tonic promoting digestion and is good for dyspepsia and sore mouth. Combined with chamomile, it is good for sore lips, chapped hands, and chilblains on the feet. Mixed with black cherry tree bark, it is good for jaundice. Garlic. Draughts made of garlics and applied to the feet at night are good to remove feverish symptoms and equalize the circulations. It is very good in all inflammatory diseases, also for discussing indolent tumors, coughs, colds, asthma. Gentian. It is a valuable tonic, excites the appetite, invigorates the system, and increases moderately the temperature of the body. It is good for debility of the digestive organs, gout, hysteria, scrofula, and dyspepsia. Dose from 10 to 40 grains. Gum arabic. It is nutritive and soothing to irritated parts, good to prevent bleeding and dysentery, hoarseness, whooping cough, and suppression of urine. Take a handful of English barley, gum arabic, a piece about the size of a walnut, with a little slippery elm. Pour upon it a pint of boiling water, steep it, and sweeten with loaf sugar. This is excellent where the patient has not much appetite and cannot bear solid food. Horseradish. It promotes appetite and invigorates the digestive powers. It is useful in hoarseness when made into a syrup. Hyssop. It is very useful in producing expurgation or discharge of mucus from the lungs for catarrh, especially in old people, and as a gargle in sore throats. Make a tea and drink it at discretion. Hops. Hops are tonic, good in dysentery and nervous tremors, weakness, and tremors of inebriates. A pillow made of hops wet with rum is good to produce sleep and allay nervous irritation, good in after pains of women, and valuable in fermentations. Horehound. It strengthens the lungs. A cold tea of it is good to prevent children from coughing and looses phlegm from the stomach. Mixed with coltsfoot, it is fine for lung complaints. Hemlock bark. It is a powerful astringent. It is good for a bath in cases of falling of the body, falling of the womb, weak joints, and such. When the bath is used, about 1/3 of brandy ought to be added. The gum, mixed with burgundy pitch, makes an excellent plaster. Iceland moss. It is good for a cough. It is bracing and nourishing. Indian hemp. It is one of the best remedies for the palpitation of the heart that is to be found, and it is a powerful nervine, very good in old standing nervous complaints of women. Take an even teaspoon of the powdered root in molasses 3 or 4 times a day for a few weeks. It is a fine substitute for opium without its effects, or tendency to causative and inaction. Juniper Bush. Its berries are an excellent counterpoison and also a great resister of pestilence. They are efficacious in the cure of wounds occasioned by the bite or sting of any beast or serpent of a poisonous nature. They are very good in cases of urinary suppressions and strangury. A lye made from the ashes and used as a drink will cure the dropsy. They expel wind, strengthen the stomach and eyesight, repress fluxes, good for piles, palsy, and falling sickness. Eating 8 or 10 of the berries every morning fasting is good for a bad cough, shortness of breath, and consumptive complaints. Knotgrass. The juice of this herb or grass is excellent to stop bleeding at the nose or stomach, being of a very cooling nature. Made into powder and taken in wine, it is a remedy in case of being bitten by any venomous creature. It is also good to expel worms. It is also said to be a sovereign remedy in all cases of inflammation, gangrene, canker, ulcer, broken joints, and ruptures, and dysentery. Lobelia. It must be dried, pulverized, put into bottles, and very tightly corked. Otherwise, its strength will soon evaporate. This herb, if properly administered, will invariably break up diseases of very long standing. By its powerful action upon the great sympathetic nerve, it allays irritation and inflammation. It is peculiarly adapted to the following cases: vision cholera, hydrophobia, bite of rabid animals, lockjaw, asthma, fits, spasmodic affections, whooping cough, tightness in the chest, difficulty in breathing, sinus complaints, and conception. Lobelia will penetrate and equalize the system, remove all obstruction, cleanse the stomach and bowels, purify the blood, remove disease from the lungs and the liver in a manner far superior to what calomel ever could or ever will do. Dose 1 teaspoon at a time. Sometimes it requires 2 or 3 depending upon the constitution of the patient and the nature of the disease. When taken as a emetic, mix it with an equal quantity of bloodroot. This is fine in case of bilious colic. When made into a pill, dampen it with balsam capiva, adding a small quantity of Castile soap. Take 3 pills for a dose. And if the patient does not obtain speedy relief, repeat the dose in about 6 minutes. By applying the powdered herb to an aching tooth, it will soon afford relief. A tincture made from lobelia is an excellent remedy in case of being stung by a bee or wasp and is good in all kinds of poisonous affections, venereal complaints, St. Anthony's fire, and such. Licorice. It is good for a cough. Take a large teaspoonful of linseed oil, 1 ounce of stick licorice, 4 ounces of best raisins. Put the ingredients into 2 quarts of soft water. Boil this down to 1 quart, then add 1/4 pound of brown sugar and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Drink half a pint of this on going to bed and take a swallow or 2 when your cough is troublesome day and night. Lady's slipper. The root of this plant has a tendency to lessen the animal energy and to allay nervous affections, and is antispasmodic. It may be used in all cases instead of valerian, and is also in most cases far preferable to opium, as it is destitute of any narcotic effect. It promotes sleep and allays the headache. Dose 1 teaspoonful in warm water, adding a little sugar. Liverwort. The root is excellent in all diseases of the liver, inflammation, yellow jaundice, chronic coughs, and will check the spread of ringworms and running sores. Made into beer and drank freely, it will reduce the heat of the liver and kidneys. It is both cleansing and cooling. Motherwort. It is excellent in all nervous and hypochondrial affections. dizziness in the head, and such. A strong tea made of it and drank freely will raise the spirits and impart new life and vigor to the whole system. Mosses. The ground moss, bruised and boiled in water, will ease all inflammation and pain caused by heat. Tree moss is also of a cooling, modifying, digestive nature. The powder of this moss, taken in a drink, is good for the dropsy and strengthens the sinews, and with oil of roses will cure the headache. Stone moss is good in the cure of the phthisic and asthma by making into a tea and drink freely. Mullein. Steep the leaves in vinegar, and it is good for a lame side and internal bruises. The center leaves, steeped in milk and sweetened with sugar, are excellent for dysentery, especially in children. With strawberry leaves and cleavers steeped, it is good in cases of kidney complaints and obstruction of the urine. Mouse ear. This herb is one of the best things known for dysentery. Boil a handful of the leaves in milk and water, sweeten it with loaf sugar, and drink it freely. Mustard. It promotes digestion, creates appetite, removes pain from the stomach and bowels. The white mustard is good for dyspepsia. It may be taken whole, a teaspoonful being the usual dose. It is good applied to the feet as draughts. It is also often used in cases where blistering is said to be needed. A teaspoonful of seed is good for the colic. A teaspoonful of the seed bruised acts as an emetic. A teaspoonful of the seed powdered and taken in warm water will expel poison from the stomach very promptly. Prickly ash. The bark and berries are very stimulating, tonic, and invigorating. It is good for chronic rheumatism, for the toothache, scrofulous humors, and ulcerated sore legs. Pennyroyal. It is gently stimulant and will produce universal perspiration if taken in large quantities hot. It is considered one of the best medicines in sudden suppression of the menses, prepared in the following manner. Take an even teaspoonful of black pepper powdered fine, put it into a tumbler of this tea, and drink when going to bed after soaking the feet in weak lye. This remedy is almost infallible. Plantain. If poisoned by dogwood, boil plantain strong and wash in the tea. If poisoned by ivy, do the same, and if you have an old sore, do the same. Quassia. It is well-known tonic as well as bitter, and is universally employed in medicine. It is a large, lofty tree, and strongly resembles our common ash. The leaves are of a bright red color, and every part of the tree is very bitter. Poplar bark root. It is a sovereign remedy for the toothache. Take the bark of the root, boil it in water down to an extract, mix with a little spirit, and put it into your tooth, and it performs a speedy cure in 9 cases out of 10. A plaster, made in the like manner, will cure the rheumatism or any other pain. Sassafras. The bark cures the chronic rheumatism, is good for inward ulcers, sores, dropsies. With a tincture of bark of the root, wash the sore, and if it smarts badly, wash around it until you can bear it to have applied to the sore. It is good for cuts or green wounds. Dress the wound and keep it wet with this tincture. In about 10 days, you will find it entirely or very nearly healed. Sumac. The bark of the root and berries are good for canker of the mouth or throat. Make it into a strong tea and wash the throat and mouth with it. A strong tea made with both bark and root sweetened with honey will cure a cough and has been known to cure consumption. Smartweed. This herb or plant is one of the most powerful soporifics or swelling remedies that I ever used. It is an excellent help in breaking up a fever. It can be made into a tea and drank freely at any time. spikenard. This is said to be a valuable remedy in cases of all kinds of sores and ulcers, and it is very good in coughs and colds. Thornapple. It is used for cankerous sores, rheumatism, and spasmodic asthma. It makes an excellent ointment for the piles or burns. By using the root and smoking it with a pipe, it helps to breathe easy and has cured many cases of asthma after every other remedy has failed. Medical preparations. Elixir. This elixir is made by adding 1 pound of best gum myrrh and 3 ounces of African cayenne to 1 gallon of alcohol or 4th proof brandy. It may be taken from a teaspoonful to a tablespoonful at a time in water sweetened with molasses or sugar. It is efficacious in very many diseases used either internally or externally, especially in colds, coughs, consumption, pain in the bowels or stomach, rheumatism, inflammations, headache, toothache, cramp, cold feet, and such. Vegetable powder. Take 1 pound of bayberry bark, 8 ounces of ginger, 3 ounces of cayenne, and 4 ounces of hemlock bark. Mix, and for a dose, take 1 teaspoonful.